Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to another wrap up. I know I've done a lot of unboxings and wrap ups lately. I'm sorry there's not been any other content, but honestly, I've been too busy taking care of my dad, who is finally out of the hospital, but he had been in the ICU for 8 days and was put on a ventilator because he got pneumonia after his surgery. He was on the ventilator for 3 days. Anyway, it was like the most terrifying experience ever. So he is much better now and he is finally home. So hopefully we can get back to some regular content here soon. But I did still manage somehow, even with all that going on, I managed to read 5 books in the month of October, and some of them were actually pretty good. So let's just dive right into it. The first book I read was my favorite of the month. I don't know. There are 2 books that might be tied for my favorites of the month because they were both really, really good. Anyway, I gave it 4.5 stars, and that is, what side do I want to go on? Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And this is my first Riley Sager book. I hear very, very mixed reviews about most Riley Sager books. So I was very scared to read one. And I'm not just into like regular mystery thrillers as much if there's not anything like extra going for it, but I heard that this one had a supernatural aspect. So I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try because there could be like a ghost in this house. There's something going on. There's different like timelines. That just seems like a lot of layers of the story that I think I would enjoy. And boy, was I right. I absolutely loved this book. I would probably try another Riley Sager book based on how much I liked this one. But if you're looking for a mystery thriller that does have a lot of layers going on with different timelines, past and present, things that you're not sure are real or not, and you get, most of the answers in the end, but maybe there's still a little bit of mystery, then this would be the perfect book for you. And like I said, there's that supernatural aspect to it that I absolutely loved. Why is there a bell ringing at 7:44 in the morning? It's 7:44. School doesn't start. Oh my gosh, what the heck is going on? The first bell rings at 8:50? Yeah, the first bell rings at, no, 8:40. The first bell rings at 8:40 for students to go down the hallway, and then 8:50 for school to start. I'm here just like super early this morning because it's a long story. But anyway, I'm here like 45 minutes before I'm normally at school. I don't know why a bell's ringing at 7:44. Beats me. The next book I read, it was such a disappointment. It was one of my most anticipated books of the year. It had been on my radar for a very long time, and that is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. Now, I tried another book by this author first. I tried last year, In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife, because Kayla from Books and Lala talks about it all the time, and I did not enjoy it. I didn't make it through it. I think I made it like 20% because it honestly wasn't really a mystery thriller. It was like people and their drama from even back to like when they were younger and they had all gone to school together, and now they were just rehashing it all kind of at like a reunion, and I just did not enjoy it. So I thought maybe it was the plot that was the problem and that her writing was fine. So I thought, well, let me try another book by her because this cover is amazing. It's one of my favorite covers like ever. I thought it had a vampire aspect to it, and honestly, if you read the synopsis, it makes it sound like it's going to deal more with the supernatural aspect to it than it actually does. And so really it was not what I thought it was going to be about. And I just did not care about anything that was happening. And also I was not connected to any of the characters, and it was so boring. And I don't know who this book is for. Like, I just don't feel like there's really much of a target audience for this book, honestly. I don't know. It was not very good. So anyway, I wound up giving it 2 stars, 2.5. No, I think I just gave it 2 stars. Then, I don't know how, but somehow, this is one of the reasons why I only read 5 books this month, is that I managed to finish The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. Now, you're like, this doesn't look that long. What are you talking about? Well, the audiobook's like 23 hours long. I mean, it was insane. And normal books like 8, 10, maybe 12 hours long. Yeah, 23 hours, I think it was. It's 644 pages, but the pages are like Bible pages thin here. I mean, just crazy thin. The font's not like super small, but it's not super large either. Anyway, super long book. And of course, this is the 4th book and kind of first also of a new trilogy in the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, obviously. And we all know my past with V.E. Schwab. I love Vicious and Vengeful, some of my favorite books of all time. I love Darker Shade of Magic, also amazing. Can't wait to reread it. Hated the other 2 in the series. So I didn't know what to expect about this one. And it was okay. It was better than books 2 and 3. Nowhere near as good as book 1. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. It could have been a 4 because I really liked the plot. I really did. It was just that there were too many flashbacks. And the beginning tries to catch you up on where all the characters have been for the past 7 years, because there really is a 7-year gap between not only the time she wrote the book, but also between the characters themselves, 7 years have passed. So in this one, we are following some new characters, and I thought that was going to be the main kind of focus of the story, because that's what it leads you to believe in the inside here, that like it mentions 2 new characters, but really they're not as important as the old characters. We're still following the old characters, and it's like I just didn't really care anymore. And I mean, it was fine. It was still good. I still always enjoy her writing, but those that time skip with trying to catch everybody up and having lots and lots of flashbacks, it just felt like there were no stakes. The conflict wasn't really introduced for a very long time, I felt like. It was just very slow to build the conflict just because of all those interruptions that we kept getting with the story. But it is beautiful. Look how pretty it is. So 3.5 stars. I might not actually buy a physical copy of the next book, because I mean, I own the other 4, so maybe I should, but I don't know. I mean, I'll probably at least read the next book, but I'm not like super hyped about it. The next book I read, though, was a pleasant surprise. I gave it also I think I lowered it to 4.25 instead of 4.5. But I gave Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano, is that how you say his name? I think so, of 4.25 stars. And I could not believe how much I enjoyed this book. So I actually asked for this book for Christmas, so it's possible I will actually get a physical copy. But my audiobook loan came in, and I thought, well, like this was right when my dad was in the hospital. I really needed a good like pick-me-up book that was going to be really good. And I was like, you know what? This is so anticipated. I'm just gonna go ahead and read it now. So I listened to the audiobook, and oh my gosh, it was so good. It does have Stranger Things vibes, kind of, because it is, there is some supernatural stuff. It is like slightly scary in places, not really that scary, not even probably as scary as Stranger Things. And it's like sort of about this town that's obsessed with the 90s, and like everything they do, they've stayed in the 90s, but it turns out there's a reason for it. It's not just like a gimmick for the book. It actually has to do with the plot of the book, and the plot was way different than I expected it to be. Also, I've learned that I love like a detective story, and that's kind of what this was too. I also love different characters' points of view, different timelines, and we had all of that. We had like flashbacks, which I just complained about flashbacks, I know, in the other book, but those were interrupting the main plot. This was the main plot. So if you like the different layers of stories, like apparently I do, then you could give this one a try. I'm learning that is definitely what I enjoy in stories. Somehow it reminds me of things like V for Vendetta has that, where it's like different time periods that you get flashbacks to piece together what's going on, and you get the detective story trying to figure out what's happening as well. The library at Mount Char was that way with the flashbacks with the detective. So apparently if it has flashbacks, various characters' points of views, and a detective story, then like I will enjoy it. Even God in the Shed kind of had that too. So this one definitely had that, and I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. I think this is this author's debut novel, so I will definitely continue reading more, and I think they're going to make it into a TV show, perhaps. Then finally, the last book I actually finished, now I did start like 4 or 5 more, which I'll just briefly mention, but the last book I finished, I read it in like 24 hours, and that was The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. I did just read her memoir that she just published recently, and somehow I was on the list early, like not early, but long time ago. I reserved it. I put it on hold on my on Libby, and somehow I went ahead and got it, even though now there's like 200 people in line for this book. Anyway, I listened to the audiobook very quickly because it's only 6 hours long, and I listened to it on like 1.75 times speed, so a little over 3 hours. Didn't take very long. It's hard to judge because I mean, obviously I can't like rate her life. All I can do is like rate the writing and like quality of this book, and I would rate it at 2 stars. It was so poorly written, which is probably a good thing. That probably means that Britney Spears wrote it herself and didn't have like a ghostwriter attached to it. Maybe, I don't know. That'd just be my guess. But I did read Paris Hilton's memoir over the summer, and oh my gosh, it was so much better. Like Paris Hilton really showed and not told her story, and like you would see specific scenes in her life, whereas Britney Spears' book is almost like you were reading just a Wikipedia article about her life. Like she just skimmed over every aspect of it with like, there were no scenes. There was no like, there were no scenes to actually show us anything. It was just telling us, here's what happened, then this happened, then that happened. And it was fine, but it's like, I mean, I don't know. It didn't really interest me that much. And I've always loved Britney Spears. I used to listen to her, like she's what turned me into like kind of she is on my road to becoming the type of, music fan I am today, because I used to only listen to country when I was really, really little. And she and Michael Jackson are the 2 singers that got me out of like just country music. Like they introduced me to pop, which then introduced me to rock, which is what I love. Like rock and metal are my things now, but this was my like paving stone to get to where I am. So anyway, she was a big part of my life back in the day, and I just didn't think the writing, it just wasn't very good. So anyway, just go into it with kind of low expectations, and maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, I did start some other books. I did start Malcolm Kidd and the Perfect Song, which is a graphic novel, just because it looked fun, and I got it in the library, and I just wanted to see what it was about, and also it was really short. So I started this one, and spoiler alert, I did just finish it in November, but I'll put it on the November wrap-up. I also started what is going to be a 5-star all-time favorite novel. I already know it. That's why I'm savoring it and enjoying it. Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. One of the best books I've ever read in my life. This is how far I am, but it's so hard to read. There's a lot of stuff going on in each sentence with like parentheses and dashes and long complex sentences and things being interrupted, and you have to be like on top of your game to read this book. Like, you cannot be distracted. I don't know how you could even listen to the audiobook. I feel like you'd have to do this one physically. So I am reading this very slowly, and I am reading it physically. Oh, and did you see I have a dark bookmark? There we go, of course. Oh, with my Harry Potter shirt, so very fitting. I'm also, I have a sorted story with this one, The Inheritance of Arcadia Divina. I'm considering DNFing. I'm actually farther than what this says, but I think I'm going to DNF this one, so it's probably not going to be much to update on that one. And then I'm also in the middle of reading Song of the Sandman? Yeah, I think it's singular, Sandman, which is the sequel to A God in the Shed, and spoiler alert, it's not like half as good. Like, I gave, 4.5 to 5 stars to A God in the Shed. Absolutely loved it. And then this book, the sequel, I thought it was just a duology. Nope, turns out it's a trilogy. So not much is happening in this book. It's really boring. It did not go anywhere like I thought it was going to go, and I'm not a fan. And I almost considered DNFing it, except that maybe one day the author will write the third book. The first one came out in 2017. This one came out in 2021. So 4 years between books. So it could be, who knows, 2025 before we get the third one. But because I love the first one so much, I'm going to keep powering through this one just to see what happens in the third one. And I'm almost finished. I think I'm like 75% right now. Maybe a little bit more. So I will finish it obviously in November. And then is there anything else I'm in the middle of? I feel like I'm in the middle of so many things. Well, technically I'm still in the middle of Fall of Babel, but we won't talk about that because I'm just apparently never going to finish it. So those are the 5 books I read, and also some other books I'm in the middle of. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books. If you plan on reading any of these books, I highly recommend Home Before Dark and Dead 11. I thought those were great. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. So even though this was a very short reading month for me, it was a great reading month with 2 like 4 to 5 star books. So anyway, thank you guys, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.